So this week has been quite a sad week in the world of football. Bury FC have been kicked out of the EFL. They're the first team to do this since Maidstone's liquidation in 1992. It's a horrendous situation. It's seen the fan base be completely heartbroken. It's seen over 150 people being made redundant. What lies ahead for Bury? They've not officially gone out of business. Will they enter non-league? We're going to be looking into it all in this video. But first of all, this video is sponsored by OneFootball, which is a good way to stay up to date with lots of different information from football, including all sorts of different types of news, such as this piece of news, as well as lots of different transfers, league updates, scores, fixtures, league tables, stats, lots of different information. It's a very highly rated app as well, getting average ratings of 4.7 and 4.8 on Apple and Android, with over 1 million people voting for their rating on Android in particular. But yeah, it is just overall a really good football app, and if you want to download it and haven't done so already, the link to download it will be in the top line of the description. But let's get straight into this situation. First of all, the club had a fantastic season last season. They got promoted from League 2 despite a horrendous financial situation that was going through the entirety of the season. They managed to put that behind them and focus on the football. The players and management did fantastically well getting promoted up to League 1, but it's all a bit bittersweet now because they never actually kicked a single ball in League 1. They're opening 5 league matches of the current season have all been postponed because of the lack of financial security at the club. And the club was initially given a deadline of midnight on the 23rd of August. That was last Friday, and then they basically had to submit all the information that was required by the EFL to basically confirm that the club was actually able to continue and pay its wages. They weren't able to do this at the time. The owner, Steve Dale, went on radio and said 1 hour before that deadline that the club was sold and that they were going to survive, which was great news at the time. And they were given a deadline until Tuesday, the 27th of August at 5 p.m. On these two deadlines, if they weren't met, then the club was going to be expelled from the Football League. And having not met that second deadline, the EFL confirmed in a statement at 11:05 p.m. on Tuesday, the 27th of August 2019, that Bury Football Club were expelled from the Football League. Between Friday and Tuesday, they were in talks with C&N Sporting Risk Company that was going to come and buy the club, but with just an hour to go before the deadline on Tuesday. Heartbreaking news that the takeover fell through. Now, they did say that part of the reason why it fell through was because there wasn't enough time to carry it out. Also, they said that having doing some due diligence of Bury Football Club, C&N Sporting Risk were no longer interested. It's heartbreaking for the fans to see this happen to their 134-year-old club. And for a club like Bury, a community club, it's horrible to see that this football club is no longer going to be there to serve its community. With 150 people losing their jobs, there's going to be a lot of people that have got to try and now find a different way of paying their mortgages, putting food on the table for their families, and those are the people that I really feel worse for. How did all of this come about? Well, the blame lies at least partly, or at least a high percentage of it, at the door of one man, the current owner, Steve Dale. Now, he brought the club in December 2018 for £1. He paid off a tax bill, said that he was going to save Bury Football Club, and things were looking a little bit more positive, whereas now the entire opposite has happened. You really do question what were his motives, what were his actual realistic chances of succeeding, because he's not actually a football fan. He announced recently that he's not actually a football fan. He didn't even know that Bury had a football club, and he's not from the Bury area and would happily never come back. Now, he was trying to sell the club, he says, but he wanted around £2 million for the club that he brought for £1 and paid off a little bit of debt, but it's in a lot of debt. He wanted £2 million for this. And it could be argued that Steve Dale just simply underestimated the task at hand and came in to try and make a bit of money, or just to try and get into football, but he just underestimated how tricky it was going to be. On the 25th of April, it was announced that the club needed £1.6 million before the end of May to pay wages, HMRC and pension bills, and they only had a projected income of £160,000 during that period, and that led to a CVA, which is a company voluntary agreement, which basically helps to pay off creditors and people that you owe money to. Because it is classed as being insolvent by the Football League, this led to the club getting a 12-point deduction, which put them at a disadvantage for the start of the season anyway. On the 25th of July the EFL sought details on how the club were actually going to pay this CVA. This is the information that the EFL wanted. Steve Dale, in his attempt to try and get something sorted, even went on Talk Sport and asked fans, business owners, anyone to pledge money to try and save the club. This was just 24 hours before the deadline last Friday. He was asking people to donate as much money as they possibly could because they needed 2.7 million pledged to basically see them through the season and to prove to the EFL that they had the money for the season. Now, when a man who is proving very untrustworthy with what he is saying goes on radio and asks for money, unsurprisingly, it didn't really come his way. And a lot of people do actually blame the EFL for this problem. They just think that the EFL should have stopped this happening in the first place. They shouldn't be kicking Bury out of the Football League, they should be kicking Steve Dale out of Bury. And while I do agree to an extent with this, ultimately the EFL did let Steve Dale become the owner. They have to pass an owners and directors test to become an owner or director at a football club in the Football League, and he somehow passed this test. Now, the EFL did say that they didn't actually do a proper test on him because of the severity of the situation that was in play when he bought the club back in December. And one big fact that may have been overlooked was the fact that of the 51 businesses that he has been part of, 43 of those businesses have liquidated. That's a horrendous track record. And if that was found in the owners and directors test, surely he would never have been allowed within a few miles of any football club. But fortunately, he was allowed to become the owner of Bury, so is that the EFL's fault? I do see why people do put some blame on them. The other people that could be blamed are the Premier League clubs, the Premier League themselves, because some people are saying, why aren't Premier League clubs bailing these clubs out? Because the wages that are being paid, the TV money that's being brought in, the transfer fees, everything is so astronomical. Why can't some of this money be used to help save these lower league community clubs? It's a tricky debate, and in my opinion, I just don't see why this should be blamed on the Premier League. The Premier League clubs don't choose how much money they get from their own TV deal. Yes, the Premier League as an organisation could potentially spread something out, but again, with the TV deals, the Premier League is what is the big appeal worldwide. To us lower league fans, lower league is still just as glorious, if not even better, but that appeal is not shared across the world as much as the Premier League, and that is reflected in the amount of money that's paid to clubs in the Premier League thanks to TV deals. Ultimately, this money is not going to filter down through the leagues as much as everyone in the lower leagues would like it to. It's wishful thinking, but I don't think realistically it's ever going to happen because it is just the business of football, it's how it works. And in terms of wages as well, the likes of Alexis Sanchez at Man United being on £500,000 a week, just a few weeks of his wages could have saved Bury. But Man United don't owe anything to Bury. Man United don't need to feel like they have to bail Bury out. If they were to do that, then that would be fantastic, but it's still a lot of money for them to pay for something that they're not going to get any benefit from. And if Premier League clubs were to bail out lower league clubs, this would surely subconsciously give clubs more of a right to go and overspend and get into financial crises more often because they know that they're going to be bailed out by a big Premier League club. If you look at it this way, it's like Tesco having to go and bail out your local corner shop who's struggling financially. So what happens next? Now, the EFL have stated that they can't be reinstated to the Football League or appeal that decision even if they get a new owner now, but the EFL did say that they are able to reapply to enter another league within the football pyramid for the 2021 season. Now, as I said, I'd assume that if they did that, it will be between the 6th and 8th tier, which will see them drop down between 3 and 5 leagues. In terms of League One itself, that will now go down to 23 teams, with just 3 teams getting relegated. 4 teams will still get promoted from League 2, but only 1 will go down to the National League. 2 teams from the National League will come up as normal as well, so it all just filters down that way. And in my opinion, it is a shame that they have missed out on the opportunity to bring 3 teams up from the National League this season, because the National League is crying out for an extra promotion space. Because you get a lot of teams in the National League that spend and spend and spend and have to spend loads of money to the point where they're financially unstable just because everyone else is spending so much money to try and get promoted because there are only 2 spaces. 1 automatic and 1 through the playoffs. But regardless, Overall, it is horrible to see that this situation has even arisen. The fans are not going to have a football club to support for the entire season. I'm confident they will have a new club next season. Will it be the same club at a lower level, or will it be a Phoenix club? It's still heartbreaking to see that they have to go down some levels regardless. But what do you guys think of the whole situation? Are the EFL at fault? Is Steve Dale the main reason that this club have gone out of the EFL? Let me know in the comment section down below. And do you think they will enter the non-league pyramid next season? And where do you think they'll enter? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, remember to hit that like button and click subscribe as well, so it's with loads of different situation videos just like this one. And yeah, I hope to see you in the next video, and thanks for watching.